All right, good afternoon, everybody. We are today joined by Mr. S.Chandramohan, who's the Director and Group President of Finance at TAFE. Right, Mr. Chandramohan, my first question to you. The year 2022 was quite challenging in terms of, given how the macroeconomic situation in the country unfolded, the global supply chain issues, and the subsequent recession. Uh, how do you see the year ahead for your particular sector, given the
Yeah,
background
so
that,
much for
yeah,
thank you so much for having me in. There, I would say not only in our sector but every sector, most of the CFOs are very actively participating in the strategic responsibilities, which is beyond the domain of finance. And as you rightly said in the beginning, the context, that today one two most big challenges which every CFO faces is the uncertainty in the global macroeconomic scenario, and two, persistent, very high inflation, caused to great extent by this, I would say, not a stable economic situation, which is also caused by political situations. I don't want to get into the details of this. So, therefore, the most crucial aspect for the CFO to ensure through his people how do we not only ensure most cost efficient sourcing, but to also ensure that he has at least more than one supplier, so that it does not become an issue whenever there is some issue somewhere happening, which we, of course, every company faced, I think, in the COVID scenario. Besides, I would say whether it is evaluating technology or whether it is making revenue or whether it is bottom line, the CFOs are certainly expected to play a very, very active role. It does not mean they have relinquished their, I would say, accountability for maintaining cash flows or owning and improving the financial processes, compliance related issues, or dealing with external investors. The buck certainly still even now stops with CFO when it comes to the financial health of the company, while of course the CEO is certainly equally responsible or more responsible. But having said this, very specifically coming to the CFO role, I would say the challenges will keep changing, the challenges will keep, I would say, increasing. Few important things which, I would say from the tractors and farm equipment, which is TAFE, what we actually did in the past couple of years, which of course we would have done it in a different way in the past, and I'm sure it will change in the future, is basically uncover trends and insights that will support forward-looking strategies. Now, what do we mean by this? For example, we actually evaluated a CRM during COVID period, which we implemented a couple of, I would say, 2 years back in a very, very short span of 5 months, where of course we had a disparate systems, meaning that we were reviewing certain things in one system, spare parts in something, warranty in some other system. So we combined everything and then brought CRM. Which I would say completely gave a very different focus. For example, today we can very, I would say not accurately, but to a great extent forecast or predict through the hot prospects in the CRM as to what could be the number of tractors sold, not only I would say number of tractors, but even model wise, so that we can plan our production systems much better. And then, for example, from a marketing point of view, earlier we were not able to monitor the dealer sales personnel, while we were able to monitor our own performance as the people, marketing personnel, but we were not evaluating certainly the DSP, so-called dealer sales people. We have 3,000 plus working through the dealers. So, we need to really monitor their performance, and that was possible to CRM. Similarly, we were also able to, I would say, put the data on competitors so as to enable us to, get a much more visibility for the dealer people to go and then see, how they actually handle the competition. And we integrated the service with parts management. We were able to put some videos for servicing. So we were able to do a lot of things on this, but it was very important for the CFO to understand the business in order to enable him to participate in this type of decision making and see where are the gaps in the CRM and how do we really push and constantly improve upon this data, which would enable also, the business to get advantage. So, for example, to give away one more example, there is certainly a discernible shift in the horsepower of the tractors. I don't want to get into details here because the time is short, and this has to be understood on a continual basis where the market is shifting, and I would say not only in the horsepower, but which state it is moving fast, which state is increasing. So this type of data is continuously required to be monitored to enable the CFO also to participate better in decision making. Another important role which I can talk about, it is basically automation and technology. For example, we are attempted in TAFE, while of course we have a very, very robust SAP system, we are operating in S4 HANA, which many companies, very few companies are operating in S4 HANA, I would say, and we have a very, very robust, I would say, SAP system covering almost, or not covering the entire gamut of operations, including HR, etc. We all started beginning to use RPA, the robotic process automation, where I would say will enable the functional people to play more active role. In other words, to put it very short, in the simple sentence, it is robotic mind of the human being combined with artificial intelligence of the robots, if I can put it very simply, where the repetitive and basically complete repetitive data is automated through this, so that we don't actually use the manpower in those areas, so that the people can think and work and add value. So therefore, this certainly, we've been able to significantly progress on this robotic process automation. And now we are thinking of, from procurement to pay, can we also do sales order collection? But it's a long process. It involves a very, very strong processes and systems. It's not simple to implement. But I would say to a great extent, even in procurement, I would say we have not fully succeeded. There are areas where we need to progress, but I would say they certainly moved a lot in this area also. The other important area, which of course was always engaging the attention of the CFOs, but actually caught the attention of the CFOs in the recent period, is the, I would say, cyber risk. Basically, because of the, I would say, complete disaggregation of data, and when I mean disaggregation, I would say, it's all today viewed by not only the people in the company, but even outside, as I was talking to you about the dealers, the dealer sales personnel, the vendor, etc., etc. And of course, people are working from home, and sometimes, during COVID time, not sometimes, I would say quite some time, we allowed the people to work even on R&D area from the house, where of course we were able to really, really work hard and then ensure, product, not only development, but also introduction. But these things require a very, very, I would say, robust cyber risk management, because, you cannot, allow the data to go out of the company. And therefore, this, while of course the CFO could be an expert in this area, it is important that he constantly liaises with the systems people, understand what are all the various, I would say, control mechanism which they have, and is it enough? Is there any duplication of controls happening, or is there any overlapping of responsibilities? Talking about systems, not about the processes, and therefore he has to be really, really on top of this, if not thorough on this. If I can add one more thing, while the CFO is not directly responsible for the launch of the new product, because there is a marketing team, there is an R&D team, there is a product development team, there is of course CEO, etc. But it is also important for him to work with the operating team to benchmark the product with reference to the competition, continuously see where improvements are required in terms of features, not only in terms of features and not only in terms of new product, but also in terms of cost controls, cost reduction, because we have to be cost competitive in today's inflationary scenario, which is always important, which is always going to be required. So these are the areas, wherein he can play a role and see how does he benchmark the competition, not only with reference to the cost, but also with reference to the products, and see, how do we really let's say, help the company or facilitate the company in terms of, improving. So if I can also add, I would say in terms of one more area which is really, really engaging the attention of the CFO, basically in terms of talent retention acquisition. So what's happening today, the companies are requiring today data analytics, and I would say even data scientists in the finance department, in order to unravel the data in a more meaningful manner and see, how they can really come out with some suggestions for improvements. So given this scenario, it is no more the traditional finance people are required in the finance department. Well, of course, they will be always required. I'm a traditional finance person, and therefore, I'm still working in the organization. Therefore, but then you require talent and you require retention. Therefore, the CFO has to ensure that how do we really bring in talent, learn from them, coach them, of course, and make them adaptable to the the organization culture, and ensure that those people are retained, basically because they are going to be really good big assets for the organization. And therefore, talent retention and acquisition is also another area which he has to focus hugely, in my opinion. As I mentioned in the beginning, there are a huge number of global changes which is continuously going to confront us. I would say, for example, we have an operation in Turkey, we have a small base in some other place. Of course, now we are expanding to outside in UK, etc. So therefore, it is very important for every company to understand the impact. As you know, I mean, I don't want to get into the dynamics of the economic scenario, because most of the countries are moving towards, to some extent, I would say, restricted and moving towards, I would say, left. But given that challenge which is going to be there because of the demand supply scenario, I think it's very, very important that the CFO also understands the global opportunities, explore new markets, find out what is happening, and not only understand the dynamics of the market, but also see what are the risks involved in handling those countries, and be proactive to see how do we really put some risk management systems and ensure that risk is not eliminated, but at least mitigated. So to my mind, for all this, the great communication skill is also very important for CFO, because he's not going to be talking only to his finance people, but across the organization, outside the organization, and of course outside the country, and therefore communication skill plays certainly a very, very important role. Other one issue which I would like to focus upon is ESG. So certainly this is engaging the attention of not only the country but outside, and of course in the company also. So how do we really engage the stakeholders in the company, including the vendors and of course our own team, and how do we really measure this, and how do we really improve on this by working as a team? Because nothing can be done by CFO. If you look at it very, very objectively, he's not responsible for anything, but he's responsible for everything. Therefore, how does he really work with the team to ensure that the governance and ESG is also improved. So therefore, overall, I would say these are the dynamics of the CFO, but each company will have its own dynamics. For example, in our company, organizing retail finance is one of the very, very key elements, and therefore, he has to be in touch with the various bankers, not for raising funds. We don't borrow, but then we have to ensure that the farmers get the best financing facilities, and therefore we have to be in touch with various bankers to ensure that the portfolio also behaves well, so that there is not only the risk is at risk, but there is credibility and there is a continuity in business. So I think these are, and then of course we are also trying to introduce some I would say digital improvement in that area, which would enable the farmers to get some, I would say, better traction, and also enable us to reduce the retail cycle time, which would, in our opinion, help the business. So I think there are different gamuts are challenges of the business, and each business would be certainly different. I'm not, of course, going to generalize everything. So I just thought, I'll just briefly tell you, these are the areas which is definitely engaging the attention of the CFOs. And what I'm talking today, probably if you talk to some other CFO down the road 1 or 2 years, the issues could be completely different, or maybe something more than what I have spoken. So I think that's the way, you have to be continuously, what I mean by this was, you have to continuously hone your skills, you have to continuously improve, sharpen your skills, enable your people to also to sharpen the skills in order to enable us to manage the business in this dynamic environment. So these are the few points I just thought I'll touch upon you. But if you've got any other questions, I'll try to answer.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time this afternoon.
Thank you so much. Pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much.